WG channel. Robert Kesakos is your usual suspect. Welcome back to yet another live broadcast on your favorite football updates channel. Oftentimes, we've been we've been late here on multiple occasions, but today we decided to come months early because it's only 13 minutes past the hour of 10 p.m. Contrary to perhaps the 11 o'clock that we are meant to be here. I often say, if I have the opportunity to do it earlier, I always do it earlier. And so today is one of those days. Perhaps a blessing in disguise, you will consider it, because I can't guarantee it will be the same trend or happening every weekend, but it is what it is. Anyways, it's a weekend of the FA Cup and things are like that. As we speak, Chelsea are in action against Wrexham, and it's a 1-1 at the moment. Wrexham having taken the lead in that one before Garnacho restored parity for the visiting Blues. Earlier on, we'll be talking about, earlier on, there was another game in the FA Cup involving Arsenal, so we'll be talking about that. We'll have the chance to talk about Man City, who are coming up at 11 p.m. East African time against Newcastle. Does promise to be a very, very big game. Those two sides have already met 4 times already this season. And somebody was asking me, how many times do they have to play each other? And I said, one more cannot hurt, indeed. So, hi, LFC. Good to have you back. Always a pleasure to see you around. Pedro says, good afternoon, guys. My name is Robert Kesakos, and I come to you live from Kampala, Uganda. Hope you're having a great day filled with peace and love. Thank you so much, Pedro. It's a pleasure to have you around. I think you must be looking forward to that 11 p.m. kickoff against, I think it will be 9 p.m. on your side against Athletic Bilbao, a side that you have really dominated in the recent past. I think you have to go back to that Copa del Rey. Was it semi-final, quarter-final back in 2023, 2024, or 2022, 2023? One of those when you did a number on them. Yeah, I'm all right. I hope you are too. And that you've been okay. How is school treating you? I know sometimes it gets in the way of us engaging on here, but we never stop thinking about you wherever you be at during your times of absentia on the channel for the multiple discussions that we do get to engage on or have on the forum. So tonight we'll be talking about the FA Cup results. We'll get to engage about, among other things that are coming your way. Like I said, Barcelona coming up very shortly. For me, it's in about 45 minutes time. They should be getting underway for that game. Come on. Anyways, so yeah, LFC says I'll be rarely back on the broadcast. Sadly, why? What's happening? Are you being grounded? You guys. Are you being grounded? Is your phone being taken away? Are you gonna have a busy schedule with school? Are you getting into work, or what's happening? What's happening? Because I'm trying to focus on school and sports. All right. We wish you the best of luck in your respective endeavors, but do not hesitate whenever you can spare a moment to come and say hello to us, as you have always done usually. So you're saying I'll be on occasionally. So I mean, whatever amount of time you can spare to check on us, we'll be here to to reciprocate the greetings that you may share with us, and extend the same courtesy. Pedro says his mommy is taking away his phone, his iPad, or she said stranger danger. And then LFC shashes you quite. Pedro, sometimes I enjoy this banter. Where will I be without you guys? Anyways, so today, I think there's only one place for us to start in as far as the FA Cup is concerned, because that was away to Mansfield Town. Guys, as soon as I saw that pitch, as soon as I saw photos of that pitch of Mansfield, I knew it was going to be a long day in office for the Arsenal, because these kinds of players are accustomed to playing in a certain environment or under certain conditions. And once I saw the pitch, although I do not think it's artificial turf, given how soggy or muddy it looks, especially on some corner posts and on some sidelines and things like that, and some parts or portions of the pitch. It reminded me of how Bodo Glimt has been beating up against teams in the UEFA Champions League on their AstroTurf over in Norway, because a lot of teams are more accustomed to playing on natural grass, or at least the hybrid natural grass and artificial fiber combined and things like that. So teams have struggled playing on their turf. So as soon as I saw that pitch, I thought to myself, no matter how good a team Mikel Arteta feels tonight, they're going to struggle because of the conditions of the pitch. And first of all, as they played the game, it almost felt like the ball was heavy. I don't know if you guys played football back in the days, or when perhaps footballing technology wasn't what it is today. Those days, if you played in the rain, the ball would sort of soak water in it, and then suddenly becomes heavy, and and every time you would kick it, you'd sort of feel the weight that is being added to it. And then prior to that, also, before balls became smaller, I don't know if you guys had the same experience. Our balls used to be big. The size of the football used to be like the size of the basketball, and that was back in the day. So it was heavy, and so today, as I watched that game on, I couldn't help it feel it's like those guys were playing a very heavy ball. That's how it felt. Passes felt slower, gliding on that turf. I don't know. I don't know if the manager was able to shout at them to say, try to add more power on your pass so that the ball gets to the destination you intended to get to a little bit quicker. But there felt a slowness to it. LFC says goodbye for now, my guy. Thank you so much. It's a pleasure. Emma Wambi says hi. Hi, Emma Wambi. Your name sounds Ugandan. Where are you joining us from, Emma? Robert is my name, and I'm coming to you live from Kampala, Uganda. Pedri says it's not a goodbye. It's a see you later. I will miss you, LFC. No, I'm joking. All right. Okay, so for me, as I watched on Arsenal play that FA Cup game, that's how it felt for me. That's how it felt like they were playing on turf that was really, really making it hard for them. You could see the bit of struggles here and there. You could see it in the slowness of their pace. You could see it in the slowness of the ball movement, or in terms of progression sometimes, and things like that. So, but anyway, nonetheless, Arsenal are still dominant, as one you would expect, because they had a very, very decent starting 11. Although Mikel Arteta had a change of heart, he went for a back three today. In going for a back three, that meant he had a whole host of attacking players on there. And for a minute, I kept thinking to myself, how is this going to work? Like, I thought to myself, of course, until the game start to be kicked around, and then you start figuring out, the sorts of patterns and who is playing where. So you would see that Kepa Arrizabalaga was in goal, Christian Mosquera, Mari Solomon, and Ricardo Carafiori were playing in the back three. But then, oftentimes, Ricardo Carafiori was venturing far deep forward, beyond even the CDM. That's Christian Nogard. And I understand he wants to play that way, but I was thinking to myself, you're playing in a back three, and your mentality is to go that deep, until you guys could get punished. And so again, we could see the gaps that Mansfield Town were able to find in behind Arsenal on the few occasions that they were able to. So then you had Christian Nogard in midfield alongside Kai Havertz, Gabriel Martinelli, Noni Madueke. Then, but also Max Doman was in that mix, and then Leandro Trossard and Gabriel Jesus. Of course, Gabriel Jesus leading the lines. Unfortunately for Arsenal, Leandro Trossard had to be withdrawn through injury, and I do understand that Ricardo Carafiori sort of picked up an issue or had felt something. I do not think it's anything too concerning, because he was withdrawn in the 76th minute, contrary to Leandro Trossard, who had to come off in the 38th minute, and then they introduced Pierre Hincapié, which meant then that they could switch to a back four with Mari Solomon playing at right back, Christian Mosquera in there, as well as Hincapié, and then Carafiori at the left back to sort of venture forward as much as he would have loved to, and things like that. So Then I thought, in terms of performance-wise, it felt an underperformance from Kai Havertz. I can't blame him much, being that given all his injury struggles throughout this campaign. Then I felt a bit of a muted or a minute kind of performance from Christian Norgard. And the reason for that was, again, I did not feel like he imposed himself on the game as I would have loved him to do. I do not mean to say he played badly, but you could feel that he could have done more to help the team. But Max Doman, what a player. I mean, for a player that just returned from about what, two almost 3 months injury, and he had to play, I think, in the under 21s last week on Friday for his first game on return. He looked as though he had been playing for the last 2 months. He looked sharp. He dribbled. He carried the ball. He looked to shoot. He had an opportunity in the first half, but I think did not get a good whip on that ball. So overall, I think for me, he was the better player on that turf. In as far as Arsenal players were concerned, Gabriel Jesus, his involvement, I felt a bit limited. Noni Madueke looked to try to make things happen, but sometimes he sort of struggled in a way that was a bit unexpected. Maybe I underestimated Mansfield Town, but they put in quite a shift, because the game finishing by 2-1 is testament to you understanding that they put in quite a fight. I mean, they were in familiar territory. You could see that they knew how well to play on that sort of rugged turf of theirs, and they showed that. Anyways, in the 41st minute, Noni Madueke scored with Gabriel Martinelli providing the assist to give Arsenal the lead. But very early in the second half, Evans, in the 50th minute, Will Evans scored to restore parity. And then it required Arsenal to get the lead in the 66th minute through Ebeleche Eze, who had come on in the second half. I think he came on around the same time with Uran Timber for Mali Solomon and Kai Havertz, respectively. Then, of course, Christian Norgard provided the assist for that one. And thereon, it was also a case of a lack of clinicalness from this Arsenal side, who you thought if they had been clinical with their chances, because they had as many as 8 shots on target, compared to Mansfield Town's 5, who had 9 shots off target, while Arsenal had only 6 off target. Blocked shots were 5 for Arsenal and 4 for Mansfield. So those numbers tell you how dominant Arsenal were, and by extension, their possession to the tune of 67% compared to 34% of Mansfield Town. Of course, it's a goal. Wrexham are leading by 2-1 against Chelsea. They are leading by 2-1. You remember yesterday, was it yesterday? No, today morning, we were talking about the FA Cup fixtures, and I said, how I would love an upset to have one of the underdogs, the non-Premier League teams, advance to the quarterfinals. To the quarterfinals. And they have scored, Wrexham have scored to make it 2-1 at the moment. So they took the lead, and we'll get to that game in just a bit as we wrap up with the review for the Arsenal fixture. But it's 2-1 in favor of Wrexham there against Chelsea. Wow. The ball takes a deflection on its way from outside the area. Robert Sanchez, you can't really blame him for that one because of the deflection. So anyways, I thought overall, in terms of the assessment, Kepa Arrizabalaga did good. He was sort of attentive in the game. He cut out most of the danger besides the goal he conceded. Christian Mosquera, he had, I think, a moment or two where he struggled or where he got beat, but I mean, that's not unexpected. I mean, Mansfield, it's not like they were playing with 12-year-olds, so it was a man-to-man game. So he was bound to get beat at some point. Mali Solomon, I think, was the suspect in the area leading to the goal, because he attempted a back pass that was intercepted, and they went on to score. So again, that goal also further signifies Arsenal's continuation of individual errors that lead to goals against them. On a day when Arsenal were marking 100 goals of the season across all competitions to become the third team across Europe to score 100 goals. I think ahead of them is Bayern Munich, who have scored anywhere, I think around 128. Barcelona with 100 and 100. Is it 100 and I'm not particularly privy to the exact number, but Barcelona are equally up there with the others. So I mean, it's really, really impressive when you think about it that way. For a team, especially that comes under a lot of criticism for their playing style or for the lack of convincing creativity, understanding that they've scored 100 goals across all competitions, more than with only two teams being the better of them, then really you ought to commend them because recently they received a lot of stick, of course, that they were not scoring enough goals, they're not creating good enough chances and things like that. We've had all that, rumor or reports. So, Chelsea have the equalizer. It's a goal. Joshua Achepong scores to restore parity. Wow. It was a slip and they got punished. It was a slip and I think, was it Dawson? Yeah, Dawson slips. Beautiful goal in the roof. Beautiful goal there. But it's 2-2 for Chelsea and Wrexham. If Wrexham are to advance to the next round of the quarterfinals, then they ought to pull up their stockings tonight. So I was trying to see if I can find those statistics when it comes to, teams that have scored the most number of goals in Europe's, in Europe's top 5 leagues. But I think if I do recapture the numbers, I'll be reading them to you. Andre Krami says, I am from Iran. I got hit by a bullet today. Any advice? I do not want to die at a young age. If that has any truthfulness to it, seek medical attention. It's that simple, really. There's no other way. There's no other way. Okay. Yes. So it's only Barcelona and Bayern Munich that have scored more goals than Arsenal across the top 5 leagues across all competitions. So for all the criticisms that Arsenal receive in their direction or in their wake, when it comes to low creativity, dark arts, unentertaining football, and things of that nature, really, it's quite sometimes incomprehensible. Because when I was watching that game, I think the commentator made a point to say that Mansfield Town had put up a better challenge than some of Arsenal's Champions League opponents, and that tells you the quality that they tried to exhibit today in Mansfield Town. And like I said, as soon as I saw the pitch, I knew it was going to be a difficult afternoon for the Gunners, but nonetheless, they still had to find a way. They still had to find a way. Oh, Wrexham were this close to going ahead again. Wow. Anyway, so really, that's how it played out. I think for me, if you had asked me on the Arsenal side, who was the man of the match, I'd give it to Max Doman. He created all sorts of troubles, had, digging deep in midfield, carrying the ball up front and things like that. He was more like as if playing in that free role kind of thing. For me, he was the better player. With all the others, they felt a bit average. Akepa Arrizabalaga, maybe in addition, was also equally good on the day because of the challenges that came his way, because Arsenal gave away some really, really good chances on the other side. Mansfield Town were able to get in behind them and things like that. Chelsea have made some changes, withdrawing Joshua Achepong and Liam Dilap for Joao Pedro and Malo Gusto. So those are some of the changes that Liam Rassinia has made recently. So anyways, quickly on the local scene, this is regarding Sports Club Villa. There's a press release that has been put out on the update on the club's Sports Club Villa presidential election nominations. It says the Electoral Commission of Sports Club Villa wishes to inform the general public, registered members, fans, and all stakeholders that the nomination period for the presidential elections officially closed on 5th of March 2026. During the nomination window, the following members have successfully picked nomination forms: Menywa Farouk, Omar Ahmed Hussein, also known as Omar Mandela, Mbide Dennis Sebugwawo, Bulezi Simon Kauma, Joseph Muguluma Mbazi, aka also known as Engineer Ben Misaga. So, and then they go on to say that by close of submission deadline, today, 7th of March, only one candidate, Mr. Omar Mandela Hussein, had returned and submitted duly completed nomination forms and fulfilled all the required conditions. In line with the Sports Club Villa electoral guidelines, the Electoral Commission has forwarded Mr. Omar's name and accompanying documents for vetting and further processing. I think that's just a formality because he's the current president of the club and things like that. Meanwhile, the other 4 that had put in their submission or that had picked nomination forms went to the Federation of Uganda Football Associations, who they petitioned to come and hold the elections for Sports Club Villa. And I'm thinking to myself, how many times do Villa have to hold their elections just because somebody does not agree with a certain conditionality? I mean, whereas there appears to have been a change in the rules or a departure from the rules to perhaps depart from the 20 million shillings that you need for nomination fees to have it raised to a non-refundable 100 million shillings. I'm thinking to myself, if you're that passionate about Villa, if you think you can be president about Villa, given the status of Ugandan football, it does need a rich man to be at the back of a given club for them to have success. 100 million shillings should not be something that you moan about. I'm not saying it's pocket change, but if you're vying for that position, then it should be money that you're willing to part with in the name of Villa. Now, yes, does it lock out some people? Yes, it does lock out some people. And it is designed to lock out some people. Why? Because unlike if you're vying for presidents of the Republic of Uganda, at the end of the day, when you get to office, you're going to have some revenue from taxpayers' money, contrary to ACVR, because all you have is much revenue, perhaps a few sponsors and merchandise here and there, and that's it. We're talking about a club that has no offices under their names, no properties, at least to the best of my knowledge. Oh, Pedro Neto rattles the crossbar. Chelsea were this close to making it 3-2. Pedro Neto rattling the crossbar was quite a powerful shot in there. So anyways, my point is I have no issue with the 100 millions that were set out as nomination fees. It being non-refundable, yeah, support the club. If the fans or those that are registered to vote feel you're worth it, then they'll give you the opportunity. Let's not forget, Engineer Ben Misaga, who wants to return at the helm of AC Villa, where he had been around, I think, between 2014 and 2018. When he walked out, he literally walked out with everything, including the club sponsorship that he had sourced with Star Times. He walked away with a chunk of players that he went on to sell, apparently, and things like that. So we're talking about a president that moved the club from one region to another. Mitiana, Masaka, and things like that. I'm not saying it's a bad thing, but during his tenure, he could not even find a home for them. He could not even have permanent offices for them. It's not to say that it was not challenging being club president of AC Villa at the time and that he did not do a good job. He did a tremendous job. They won the Uganda Cup back in 2015 when they beat KCCA 3-0 in the replayed final at Nachivobo Stadium after the game had been, sort of prematurely ended in Nyamichobora, I think, sorry, in Tungamo, I think the is it Chamate Stadium or playground in Tungamo, that game, I think it collapsed in around either between the 72nd and 78th minutes when AC Villa were leading by goal to nil. And we know the chaos that came from that. But eventually, they won the Uganda Cup, went in the CAF Confederations Cup. They got embarrassed, I think, was it by Braja Casablanca? I think it was Fast Rabat. Or one of the two. I do not seem to remember correctly. But he was there at the helm of the club. Now, what signifies his bad leadership is that when he walked away, when he pulled himself out of the way, Villa went back down again. In other words, they literally collapsed. They went back to relying to handouts and basket collections from well-wishers and Villa fans and supporters and enthusiasts, things like that. So, in other words, when it comes to a footprint of Ben Misaga for his tenure in the game, is that you will not find much. Other than the Uganda Cup, they had started Villa Water and things like that. But again, where is it? Where is Villa Water on the market? If it is still on the market, well and good, but I don't see it. So he had started some initiatives, but as soon as he removed himself from the system, it all went down. So really, I do not think he should be mourning about this. If he feels he can't challenge Omar Mandela, regardless of their personal individual differences, let him sort of return his nominations. Of course, he hasn't, and that means he's not paid the 100 million. Now, it's not to say he did not have legitimate concerns when it comes to this. But when it comes to legitimate concerns regarding Sports Club Villa, I would say it's not the first time we are hearing this. First of all, there were questions on what bank account do they deposit the funds. I think the bank account was availed, and his concern was, I think the signatory was only 2 people. And I'm thinking to myself, what's wrong with that? If it's the club president or the CEO or whichever that has signatories to the account, at the end of the day, if it's money for the club, it will do things for the club. It will pay salaries, take care of their welfare. Omar Mandela is already doing that. He bought a former East High and literally Villa a house there. That's where they're doing their project. If you kick out Omar Mandela today, trust me, a month out down the road, those boys are all kicked out of there, and we are back to square one. We cannot move 2 steps forward and 3 backwards just because we cannot stomach a bit of democratic dictatorship that is a bit necessary in our context of football administration. Now, what I would implore AC Villa is to create structures that are going to live on beyond individuals. That's what they need. That's what our clubs are lacking. And I do not think there's any privately owned football club that has that in place. The only clubs that try to thrive on beyond their leaders are those institutional clubs that are government-backed with government agencies. The UPDF or Entebbe UPPC, as you have it, formerly Gaddafi, the way you have KCCA, URA, and things like that. But also we've seen institutional clubs collapse. We had State House, we had Coffee, we had UEB, we had Bank of Uganda. There's so many examples. There's so many examples of that as well. So Sports Club Villa is the biggest club in the land. They must build towards self-sustainable structures. It's not going to be easy, but somebody must be willing to walk the talk. I do not know how many times they've spoken about building a stadium. Now, I know finances are hard and they ought not to be perfect, but they got to start somewhere. UNRWA gave them some money because they sought compensation because they were kicked out of Villa Park in Zambia. However little that money, you may think of it, let them go buy land somewhere and do what police have done along Kira Road. The playing turf has been worked on. That ground has been dug up, set the ground really well, and it's ready. Football is being played on there. At least have that. And then when it comes to these structures, the stands, whatnot, do it in phases. Just make sure the facility has dressing rooms and washrooms, bathrooms that players can wash into, match officials can, use, and things like that. Maybe a grand's office. Build one side of the stand, and with that one side of the stand, have those facilities under it. Even if that side of the stand is a 2,000-seater, and you say that will be a VIP section for now. Somebody ought to walk the talk. But every time we get back in this, so-and-so is doing this, ABCD, I feel in the core of our leadership, when it comes to football, you need a bit of democratic dictatorship. In other words, today, you're going to dictate what ought to be done and implement something. Then tomorrow, you'll seek consensus with other people on another matter. That's how it ought to be done. Otherwise, if we keep dilly-dallying, we'll keep making 2 steps forward and 4 steps backwards, and we'll never progress. Anyways, that's the conversation regarding AC Villa. So I thought it was news worth bringing to you guys when it comes to the context of Ugandan football. But anyways, let's digress back to, I think I was done with the review for that Arsenal game, really. Personally, I was really, really done with it. You ought to... you ought to comment either way, regardless of what you may have thought of the performance. Meanwhile, Wrexham have been reduced to 10 men. So they are playing the remainder of these stoppage time minutes with a manless following the sending off of Dawson for his dangerous tackle on Alejandro Garnacho. Speaking of which, the FA Cup. Okay. 9 minutes were added. We've only played about 7, or actually almost 9. But yeah, Gobson. Sorry, it's not Dawson, it's Gobson. Yes. Gobson is the player that has been, George Gobson has been given a straight red card. Initially, it had been a yellow card that has been upgraded to a straight red card. But Sam Smith did score in the 18th minute to give Wrexham the lead, while Chelsea got the equalizer through an own goal by Okonkwo in the 40th minute, and then Calm Doyle scored to make it 2-1 in the 78th minute, but only 4 minutes later, Chelsea restored parity through Joshua Achepong. Pedro Neto hit the crossbar, or rattled the crossbar moments later, but it remains 2-2 at the moment. That means we could be destined for penalties in that one, really, to decide who gets on the tie. To be honest with you, I'd be really, really happy if Wrexham were to go through. Not that I have anything much against Chelsea, but I'm all for the underdog on this one. Really, with all the resources that Chelsea have and the player quality within their squad. You come a game like this, giving them all the advantage. But given that Wrexham have been able to fight on, even though they have the home advantage, it's something really, really commendable in their respect. So we are waiting for that whistle from referee Peter Banks, and it's finally have come. So particularly not sure, do we go straight to penalties or do we have extra time? Suddenly, I'm not particularly sure. Anyways, let's move on. All right, I think we'll go to extra time. Anyways, elsewhere in the other leagues or results for today, Osasuna and Mallorca shared the spoils in a 2-2 draw. Levante and Girona settled for a 1-1 draw, while Atletico de Madrid beat up against Real Sociedad by 3-2. Alexander Soloth on target in that one, as well as Nico Gonzalez with the brace in that one. So as Atletico de Madrid, won by 3 goals to 2. Carlos Sola did score for Real Sociedad, as well as Mikel Oyarzabal were the 2 goal scorers in that one. And as we speak, Barcelona are set for the action against Athletic Bilbao tonight. And here is how both teams have set up. Starting with Bilbao, they have Unai Simon in goal. They have Andoni, Dani Vivian, Emerick Laporte, Adama Boyiro. They have Rego Mora. They have Mikel Geza. They have Inaki Williams, Selton Sanchez, Alex Belenguer, and Unai Gomez. On the side of Barcelona, they have Joan Garcia, Eric Garcia, Pau Kubasi, Joao Cancelo, Gerard Martin, Marc Beno, Marc Casado, that's the double pivot. They have Marcus Rashford, Dani Olmo, Lamine Yamal, and Ferran Torres. That's how Barcelona have set up. Their bench still looks like great, even though they have players like Rafinha, Robert Lewandowski, Fermin Lopez, Pedri, some of the key players, as well as Ronald Araujo on there that you can look to in case things are not going the way as planned. That's for Barcelona. Then quickly, in the German Bundesliga, Hoffenheim beat up against Heidenheim by 4 goals to 2. Freiburg and Bayer Leverkusen settled for a 3-all draw. While RB Leipzig beat up against Augsburg by 2 goals to 1. Mainz 05 and Stuttgart shared for the Spurs in a 2-all draw, while Hamburg SV went away to Wolfsburg and beat them by 2 goals to 1, as did Borussia Dortmund as away to FC Cologne. In the French League One, in the Italian Serie A, Como beat Cagliari by 2 goals to 1, while Atlanta and Udinese settled for a 2-all draw. As we speak, it's been 5 minutes into play. Juventus and Pisa is still goalless. And in the French League One, Nantes lost to Angers by 0-0. Auxerre and Strasbourg is still goalless. And that game is in stoppage time. And up next is Toulouse against Olympique Marseille. Then Newcastle are coming up against Manchester City at exactly 11 p.m. East African time. And here is how both teams have set up. Newcastle have Aaron Ramsdale in goal. They have Kieran Trippier. They have Malik Thiaw and Steven Botman, as well as Lewis Hall, Joey Locke in midfield, Sandro Tonali and Harvey Barnes in that midfield. And then ahead of them is Anthony Elanga, Willian Osula, and Nick Voltmada on there. On the side of Man City, they have James Trafford in goal. They have John Stones, Kushanov, Matthias Nunes, Nathan Ake at left back. They have Tijan Reinders, Nico Gonzalez, and Nico O'Reilly, almost as much as predicted. Omar Mamouche, Jeremy Doku, and Savinho. That's how they have set up. On the side of Newcastle, on the bench, they have Nick Pope, Joelinton, Yohan Wissa, Anthony Gordon, Tino Livramento, Jacob Murphy, Damban, Alex Murphy, and Sean Nievi. While Manchester City have Gianluigi Donnarumma, Ruben Diaz, Ryan Cherki, Marquis, Lodri, Bernardo Silva, Ryan Atnori, Anton Semenyo, and Phil Foden. You can see the sharp contrast in terms of quality when it comes to the bench there. You could say the starting 11s are almost evenly matched there in terms of player quality, but it is on the bench where Man City could perhaps preponderate Newcastle if you are to go compare a player to player, as perhaps not by their natural talent, but perhaps by their performances so far this season, and maybe by extension their talent, because perhaps Tijan Reinders, you'd want to compare him to Sandro Tonali, Joe Willock and Nico Gonzalez, Harvey Barnes and Nico Riley. You could say Harvey Barnes is a better player, even though he's been deployed in a conventional role. Today, when you look at Anthony Elanga versus Jeremy Doku, yes, Jeremy Doku, you could argue is a better player, but when you look at his statistics overall, I do not think they're miles apart of those of Anthony Elanga as far as the Premier League is concerned. Willian Osula versus Omar Mamouche. Of course, Omar Mamouche is the better player. Savinho versus Nick Voltmada. Really, the Savinho has been very, very underwhelming so far in his Manchester City career. So really, when you want to draw comparisons between the two squads or the two starting 11s, that is where it will boil down to. In as far as that 11 p.m. kickoff is concerned. So That's where it is slicing. Meanwhile, the Chelsea game has gone into extra time, and yeah. I think if you're Wrexham, your best bet is perhaps taking it to penalties, because penalties can be a 50-50 in terms of who wins it. But while you enjoy that, I want to bring you up to speed so that you do not miss out on Super Sunday action. We have the Milan derby. That's between AC Milan and Inter Milan. The first leg was won by AC Milan by 0-0. But also tomorrow we'll have Villarreal against Elche, Getafe against Betis. Sevilla against Vallecano, Deportivo away to Valencia in the Spanish La Liga, St. Pauli against Frankfurt in the German Bundesliga, Union Berlin against Werder Bremen in the German Bundesliga on Super Sunday. While the Italian Serie A will come with Lecce against Cremonese, Bologna will be at home against Hellas Verona, Parma will play away to Fiorentina, as AC Roma will be away to Genoa, and AC Milan at home against Inter. In the French League One, Lens will be up against Metis, Brest will take on Le Havre, Lorient will be away to Lille, while Nice will be at home against Rennes. Lyon will take on Paris FC. While yesterday, so anyways, we'll keep tabs on that action tomorrow when it is due. So far, I think so far so good. Chelsea are hanging in there, although they've decided to. It's gone into extra time. I do not think either manager would have wanted this. More particularly, Liam Marcinha, who has a game against PSG next week in the UEFA Champions League. Bearing in mind that PSG lost yesterday by 3-1 against Monaco in the French League One. Very, very, big performance on there. Jesus Christ. Anyways, so okay, for the UEFA Champions League, Tuesday, Liverpool will be in action against Galatasaray, Barcelona against Newcastle, Atletico de Madrid against Tottenham, and Bayern Munich against Atalanta. Arsenal on Wednesday against Leverkusen, Bordeaux Glimot on the same day against Sporting CP, PSG against Chelsea on the same day, as well as Real Madrid against Man City. So we do look forward to that. That's next week. So Arsenal will be traveling. I think they will have the day off tomorrow. They will have perhaps maybe a training session. I don't know, Monday, maybe travel on Tuesday. I don't know how. Possibly travel on Tuesday ahead of that game on Wednesday and things like that. Chelsea will be traveling to France. Man City will be traveling to Spain. Things like that. So teams have quite a bit of traveling. Bayern Munich have to go to Italy. Tottenham have to go to Spain. Liverpool have to go to Turkey. While Barcelona will be coming to the UK, to England for that, fixture. Anyways, guys, why don't you allow me wrap up this one here? It's been close on to 45 minutes of doing this. I wish you a wonderful rest of the night and a blessed weekend for the rest of it. Thank you so much, Andrea, Emma, Wambi, LFC, Pedri. It's all been a pleasure to have the interaction with you guys. For those of you that have recently subscribed to the channel, thank you so much for sparing the time or for taking the time to trust to join the community. I do commend you all. For those of you that are watching our content, we do appreciate you a great deal. Really, keep sharing your thoughts and views. Like I keep saying, go to the channel under the video section and watch all that content that we recently put out there in regards to Man United, in regards to Arsenal, in regards to why I think the Premier League title race is not yet done, among other things, really. So it's something that, I think you should be catching up on in all breadth. And then also in the short section, do not forget to visit there and watch those shorts. Give us your thoughts in the comment section. The more you like, the more you comment, the more our content gets recommended to wider audiences that perhaps share similar sentiments or that share similar interests when it comes to the game of football and things like that. So your time, and then those who watch our live broadcasts long after they've ended, we do not take your time ever for granted. We really, really appreciate it a great deal because you also remain part of the reasons as to why we do this every single day, Monday to Sunday, with the exception of Sunday, that we do not have a morning broadcast for Sunday, but we do this every single day, Monday to Saturday, every morning, 9 a.m. with oh. Chelsea have scored through Alejandro Garnacho to make it 3-2, but Garnacho's celebrations were quite cautious. It felt like he was offside. For a moment, I thought it had hit the upright, really. I need to have a review of this one before I tap out. His own side. Ball hit the back of the net. But the way it ricochets out of the goal, you almost felt like it had almost not gone in. It had you second guessing yourself, the speed or the velocity with which it comes out. Yeah, even Liam Rasinha took a couple of seconds to realize that the goal had counted. So it's 3-2 in favor of Chelsea. They are to lead against Wrexham in extra time for the 50th round of the FA Cup or the round of 16. Guys, it's been a pleasure. Bye-bye for now. Stay blessed.